Shalom, my name is Adam, and I welcome you to the parable of the vineyard. Every day, Yahuah is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to his righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of his law. Join us as we seek to be refined by his word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in his way, truth, and life. Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube live stream of our Torah portion, reading and study. My name is Adam, your host, and I welcome you. This is week 40, Balak, talking about, where am I at? Balaam. I don't like how it's actually behind my head right now. I didn't think of that before coming on here. Anyways, whatever. So this week is Numbers 22, verse 2 through 25, verse 9. A lot to talk about in this portion. This is a very interesting portion. We have Balak, the king of the Moabites, who hires Balaam. We have a talking donkey, tries to curse Israel, doesn't work, blesses them. We have Phinehas, the javelin, setting up for next week, which is the Torah portion, Phinehas. Anyways, a lot to cover. Let's start with prayer. Heavenly Father, Yahuah, we come before you. We bless you in Yahusha's name. We thank you for opening our eyes to your Torah in these last days, but first and foremost, we thank you for salvation in Messiah Yahusha, your word, your son, our king. We bless you and we pray that your Torah, the words of the Torah may be opened up to our eyes, that we may behold the wondrous things out of it, and our ears opened, that they may be unstopped, that we may be hearers and doers of your word, for we know that those that do those will be justified in your sight. We love you and thank you for all things you've created for us, and we bless you. Amen. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom. Yes. Let's get into it. We're going to start of course in the Sefer version. We're going to be reading Numbers 22, and we're going to be cross-referencing a lot in the Aramaic Targums because it gets pretty interesting, if I may say. Okay, it actually starts at verse 2, but might as well just start at verse 1. Numbers 22:1, and the children of Yisrael set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab, on this side of the Jordan, by Jericho. And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw that all that Yahusha had done to the the Amorites, right, the giants, and they're just like, whoa. And Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were many, and Moab was distressed because of the children of Yisrael. And Moab was sore, and Moab said unto the elders of Midian, now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licks up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was the king of the Moabim at that time. Let's just pause real quick. I'm just going to read Targum's, the first paragraph, get an idea of who Balak is. And Balak bar Zippor, son of Zippor, saw what Israel had done to the Amorites, and the Moabi feared before the people greatly, because they were many, and they were distressed in their life before the sons of Israel. They said to the elders of the Midianites, for the people had been one, and the kingdom of one unto that day. Now will this congregation consume all that is upon them, as the ox eateth up the grass of the field. And Balak bar Zippor, a Midianite, was king of Moab at that time, without a Midianite being such at another time, for so it was the tradition of among them to have kings from this people and from that by turns. So Moabites had kings from other nations rule their land. That was something they did, and that's confirmed in the book of Yashar. But it says here that you kind of prophesy here that the children of Israel are like the ox that licks up the grass, and just not that this really has a huge connection, but it just reminded me of Micah 4:13. Not to remember that in the not too distant future, whenever this all changes, the children of Israel, who are kind of in a humbled state, will be risen into a other state. Micah 4:13, arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thy hoofs, like an ox, hoofs brass. And you shall beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto Yahuwah, and their substance unto the Adonai of the whole earth. So just reminded me of it, so I just wanted to read it. Like I said, and just as a good time to recognize that these are just studies. I'm a student of the Torah. I'm not offering this as your teacher. The Ruach HaKodesh is your teacher. Now, we do know through the Apostle Paul that people are selected as teachers, and possibly that might be my role in the kingdom. I'm not sure. I'm hoping to fill that role if it is. But really, truly, I offer these as studies because I am so new to the Torah. I'm a student, and I offer these as to be like study buddies, and we're like hanging out in my living room, going over the notes I have throughout the week on these Torah portions. So with that, let's keep going. Numbers 22:5. And he sent messengers, therefore, to Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, Behold, there is a people come out from Mitzrayim. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray you, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Perchance I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that we may drive them out of the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand, and they came unto Balaam, and spoke unto him the words of Balak. And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as Yahuwah shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. And Elohim came unto Balaam and said, What men are these with you? So let's pause here and let's ask the question. We know already, almost everybody knows that's ever read the Bible once, is that Balaam is not a good guy. So why is Elohim talking to not a good guy? Let's explore that option real quick. I'm going to take you on a quick rabbit trail. Let's recognize the thought process that Yah may use evil people for his purposes. Isaiah 36:1-10. Now it came to pass in the 14th year of Hezekiah that Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the defenced cities of Judah and took them. And the king of Assyria sent Rabshakeh from Lachish unto Jerusalem. So, so Rabshakeh is like the leader for the king. And he's basically going on and he's like just speaking proudly, like, "Hey, we're here to take you down. So either bow down to us and listen to us, or we're going to destroy you," right? And he's saying, "Don't trust in Hezekiah," And right here, he's boastful. He's like, "Am I now come up without Yahuwah against this land to destroy it? Yahuwah said unto me, Go up against this land and destroy it." So one of two things. He's either lying, which he really has no reason to lie. He's no reason to say, "Your God is the one that told me to come up and destroy you." Like, I don't think there. So it's possible that he appeared to him and it was like, or at least appeared to the king of Syria, "Go destroy Israel, or go destroy Judah." Well, we know that he was glorified through this because he saved them because they trusted in him. It's possible. So that's possibility number one is, the Most High or Yahusha, the Word, spoke to Balaam in order to bring about this testing of his people, and they partly failed. Where is this? Oh, and here. So here in the Targums, and I'm not really completely sold on this, but it says here in the Targums, and he sent unto Laban the Aramite, who was Balaam. So the Targum says that Laban is Balaam. Like I've said before, I love the Targums, and there's a lot of amazing information in there. Not to say that I don't think everything is right, because I think almost every single text has been tampered in some way, has been altered in some way, either whether it's interpretations or whatnot. So I don't know. This may be true. I'm not mocking it either, but there's some holes in this theory, which I'm not really going to get into. But I just figured I wanted to just share it with you. And he said unto Lábán, the Aramite. Remember, Lábán is the one that persecuted Jacob, and Jacob married his two daughters. So called because he was who sought Beluva to swallow up Amma, the people of the house of Israel, the son of Beor, who was insane. And actually, Lábán is the son of, is it Bethuel? I can't remember off the top of my head. From the vastness of his knowledge, and would not spare Israel, the descendants of his sons and daughters, and the house of his habitation in Padam was at Pethor. Now this is Padan Aram. Now this is right. A name signifying an interpreter of dreams. It was built in Aram upon Pharat, in the land where the children of the people worshipped and adored him. To him did Balak send to call him, saying, Behold, a people has come out of Mitzrayim, and lo, they cover the face of the earth, and are encamped over against me. But now entreat and come curse this people for me. They are stronger than I, if I may be able to meet them, though small. Okay, anyways, so we do know that through the book of Jasher that Laban is an enchanter and is an idolater and does know the ways of divination, which Balaam was very versed in. This is the book of Jasher, Yashar, chapter 31, verses 40 through 45. And this is when Rachel stole the images of her father. And Rachel stole her father's images, and she took them, and she concealed them upon the camel upon which she sat. And she went on. And this is the manner of the images, in taking a man who is the firstborn, and slaying him, and taking the hair off his head, and taking salt, and salting the head, and anointing it with oil, then taking a small tablet of copper or tablet of gold, and writing upon the name upon it, and placing it in the tablet under his tongue, and taking the head with the tablet under the tongue, and putting it in the house, and lighting up the house lights before it, and bowing down to it. And at the time when they bow down to it, it speaketh to them in all matters of that they speak of it, through the power of the name which is written in it. And some make figures in them of figures of men, and gold, and silver, and go to them in times known to them, and the figures receive the influence of the stars and tell them future things. And in this manner were the images which Rachel stole from her father. And Rachel stole these images which were her father's, in order that Laban might not know through them where Jacob had gone. And Laban came home, and he asked concerning Jacob and his household, and he was not to be found. And Laban sought his images to know where Jacob had gone, and he could not find them. And he went to some other images and inquired of them, and that they told him that Jacob had fled from him to his father's house and the land of Canaan. So it's possible, it's very possible, but I'm not quite sold on it. Just wanted to share that with you. Also, let's get a little history of Balaam before we read more about Balaam. This is in the book of Jasher, chapter 67. We're going to read verses 8 through 52. And it was after the death of the king of Chittim that Balaam, the son of Beor, fled from the land of Chittim, and he went and came to Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Pharaoh received him with great honor, for he had heard of his wisdom, and he gave him presents, and made him for a counselor, and aggrandized him. And Balaam dwelt in Egypt in honor with all the nobles of the king, and the nobles exalted him, because they all coveted to learn his wisdom. And in the 130th year of Pharaoh has a dream. I'm just going to skip over this. Pharaoh has a dream, and so the king's like, interpret this for me. And Balaam, the son of Beor, answered the king and said unto him, which it did say in the Targums that he was an interpreter of dreams. Again, I'm not fully sold on this theory that Laban is Balaam, but I want to go over Balaam's history before we meet him here in the book of Numbers. And Balaam, the son of Beor, answered the king and said to him, This means nothing else but a great evil that will spring up against Egypt in the latter days. For a son will be born to Israel, who will destroy all Egypt and its inhabitants, and bring forth the Israelites from Egypt with a mighty hand. Now therefore, O king, take counsel upon this matter, that you may destroy the hope of the children of Israel, and their expectation before this evil arise against Egypt. And the king said unto Balaam, And what shall we do unto Israel? Surely after a certain manner we did at first counsel against them, and could not prevail over them. This was the hard labor, and the hard labor did not prevail. Now therefore give you also advice against them, by which we may prevail over them. And Balaam answered the king, saying, Send now and to call thy two counselors, and we will see what their advice is upon the matter, and afterward thy servant will speak. So this is where the king calls Job and Jethro. And first Jethro's like, listen, he tells the history of the Israelites, and how Abraham went into Egypt, and Pharaoh took his wife, took Sarah, and the whole house of Pharaoh was plagued, and he goes and he let's see here, and he finishes up with let him go out of Egypt. And then Pharaoh was like, and then when Pharaoh heard the words of Jethro, he was very angry with him, so that he rose with shame from the king's presence and went to Midian, his land, and took Joseph's stick with him. And then this is where Job has an opportunity to stick up for the Israelites too, and he doesn't. He stays silent. And then the king said unto Balaam, What do you say, Balaam? Speak thy word, and we may hear it. And Balaam said to the king, Of all that the king has counseled against the Hebrews, they will be delivered, and the king will not be able to prevail over against them with any counsel. For if you think to lessen them by flaming fire, you cannot prevail over them. For surely their Elohim delivered Abraham their father from Ur of the Chaldeans. And if you think to destroy them with a sword, surely Isaac their father was delivered from it, and a ram was placed in his stead. And if with hard and rigorous labor you think is to lessen them, you will not prevail even in this. For their father Jacob served Laban, and this is another reason why I don't think Laban is Balaam, because he would say it in a first person sense, not in a third person. So their father Jacob served Laban in all manner of hard work and prospered, because this is Balaam speaking. Now therefore, O king, hear my words, for this is the counsel which is counseled against them, by which you will prevail over them, and from which you should not depart. If it please the king, let him order all their children which shall be born from this day forward to be thrown into the water, for by this you cannot wipe away their name, for none of them nor their fathers were tried in this manner. And the king heard the words of Balaam, and the thing pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Balaam. And the king ordered a proclamation to be issued and a law to be made throughout the land of Egypt, saying, Every male child born to the Hebrews from this day forward shall be thrown into the water. And Pharaoh called unto all his servants, saying, Go now, and seek throughout the land of Goshen where the children of Israel are, and see that every son born to the Hebrews shall be cast into the river, but every daughter you shall let live. And when the children of Israel heard this thing which Pharaoh had commanded, so that came through, so the throwing of the babies in the water, that came through Balaam, and not good. Not good. So that's history lesson number 1 with Balaam. Number 2, interesting little story. This is Balaam and his first encounter with Moses. This is Jasher chapter 70, verses 1 through 31. And in the 3rd year from the birth of Moshe, Pharaoh was sitting at a banquet when Alparanith, the queen, was sitting at his right hand, and Bathia at his left. And Bathia is the mother, or the adopted mother of Moshe, the daughter of Pharaoh. And the lad Moshe was lying upon her bosom. And Balaam, the son of Beor, with his 2 sons, which is Jannes and Jambres, which are the wizards that withstood Moshe and Aharon, throwing their rods to make them serpents as well. And all the princes in the kingdom were sitting at the table with the king's presence. And the lad stretched forth his hand, so this is Moses, stretched forth his hand upon the king's head, and took the crown off the king's head and placed it on his own head. Ooh, right? And when the king and the princes saw the work which the boy had done, the king and the princes were terrified, and one man to his neighbor expressed astonishment. And the king said unto the princes who were before him at the table, What speak you, and what say you, O ye princes, in this manner? And what is to be the judgment against the boy on account of this act? And Balaam, the son of Beor, the magician, answered before the king and princes, and he said, Remember now, O my lord and king, the dream which you did dream many days since, and that which thy servants interpreted unto you. Now therefore, this is the child from the Hebrew children, in whom is the spirit of Elohim, and let not my lord the king imagine that this youngster did this thing without knowledge. For he was a Hebrew boy, and wisdom and understanding are with him, although he is yet a child, and with wisdom has he done this, and chosen unto himself the kingdom of Egypt. For this is the manner of all the Hebrews, to deceive kings and their nobles, to do all these things cunningly, in order to make the kings of the earth and their men tremble. Surely you know that Abraham their father acted thus, who deceived the army of Nimrod king of Babel, and Abimelech king of Gerar, and that he possessed himself the land of the children of Heth and all the kingdoms of Canaan, and that he descended into Egypt, and said of Sarah his wife, She is my sister, in order to mislead Egypt and her king. His son Yitzchak also did so when he went to Gerar and dwelt there, and his strength prevailed over the army of Abimelech and king of Philistines. He also thought of making the kingdom of the Philistines stumble, and saying that Rebekah his wife was his sister. Jacob also dealt treacherously with his brother, and took from his hand his birthright and his blessing. He went then to Padan Aram, to the house of Laban his mother's brother, and cunningly obtained from him his daughter and his cattle and all belonging to him, and fled away and returned to the land of Canaan to his father. His sons sold their brother Joseph, who went down into Egypt and became a slave, and was placed in the prison house for 12 years, until the former Pharaoh dreamed dreams, and withdrew him from the prison house, and magnified him above all the princes in Egypt on account of his interpreting his dreams to him. And when Elohim caused a famine throughout the land, for he sent for and brought his father and all his brothers and the whole of his father's household, and supported them without price or reward, and bought the Egyptians for slaves. Now therefore, my lord and king, behold, this child has risen up in their stead in Egypt, to do according to their deeds, and to trifle with every king and prince and judge. If it please the king, let us now spill his blood upon the ground, lest he grow up and take away the government from thy hand, and the hope of Egypt perish after he shall have reigned. And Balaam said to the king, Let us moreover call for all the judges of Egypt and the wise men thereof, and let us know if the judgment of death is due to this boy, as thou didst say, and then we will slay him. So here's the end of the history lesson, but this is actually pretty cool, so I want to keep reading. And Pharaoh sent and called for all the wise men of Egypt, and they came before the king, and an angel of Yahuah came amongst them, and he was like one of the wise men of Egypt. And the king said to the wise men, Surely you have heard what this Hebrew boy who is in the house has done. And thus has Balaam judged in the matter. Now, judge you also, and see what is due to the boy for the act he has committed. And the angel, who seemed like one of the wise men of Pharaoh, answered and said as follows before all the wise men of Egypt and before the king and the princes. If it please the king, let the king send for men who shall bring before him an onyx stone and a coal of fire. Right? And place them before the child, and the child stretch forth his hand and take the onyx stone. Then shall we know that with wisdom has the youth done all that he has done, and we must slay him. But if he stretch forth his hand upon the coal, then we shall know that it was not with knowledge that he's did this thing, and he shall live. Right? He's just a kid, right? So, or just a child. So hot coal, precious onyx, and whichever one he grabs. If he grabs the onyx, we know he's wise. If he grabs the coal, we know he's just a child, and he did it just because he does what children do. And the thing seemed good in the eyes of the king and the princes, so the king did according to the word of the angel of Yahuah. And the king ordered the onyx stone and the coal to be brought in place before Moshe. And they placed the boy before them, and the lad endeavored to stretch forth his hand to the onyx stone, but the angel of Yahuah took his hand and placed it on the coal, and the coal became extinguished in his hand, and he lifted it up and put it into his mouth and burned a part of his lips and a part of his tongue. That's why I think a lot of people think that that Moshe had that speech impediment, because he had like this burnt tongue that maybe wasn't fully healed. And he became heavy in mouth and tongue. And when the king and the princes saw this, they knew that Moses had not acted with wisdom in taking off the crown from the king's head. So some more Balaam history lesson and his interaction with Israel. Here we are at chapter 79 with the with Moses and Aaron going into Pharaoh. And Moses and Moshe and Aharon came to Egypt to the community of the children of Israel, and they spoke to them all the words of Yahuah, and the people rejoiced in exceeding great rejoicing. And Moshe and Aharon rose up early on the next day, and they went to the house of Pharaoh, and they took in their hands the stick of God, of Elohim. And when they came to the king's gate, 2 young lions were confined there with iron instruments, and no person went out or came in from before them, unless those whom the king ordered to come, when the conjurers came and withdrew the lions by their incantations. And this brought them to the king. And Moshe hastened and lifted up the stick upon the lions, and he loosed them, and Moshe and Aharon came to the king's house. The lions also came with them in joy, and they followed them and rejoiced as a dog rejoices over his master when he comes from the field. And when Pharaoh saw this thing, he was astonished at it, and he was greatly terrified at the report, for their appearance was like the appearance of the children of Elohim. And Pharaoh said to Moshe, What do you require? And they answered him, saying, Yahuah Elohim of the Hebrews has sent us to you, saying, Send forth your people that they may serve me. And when Pharaoh heard their words, he was greatly terrified before them, and he said to them, Go today and come back to me tomorrow. And they did according to the word of the king. And when they had gone, Pharaoh sent for Balaam the magician, and to Jannes and Jambres his sons, and to all the magicians and conjurers and counselors which belonged to the king, and they all came and sat before the king. I do believe that Paul knew the book of Jasher pretty well, because he quoted how Jannes and Jambres withstood him, withstood Moshe and Aharon. And this is really one of the very few places we get this outside of the Talmud, and I don't think Paul was quoting the Talmud. And the king told them all the words which Moshe and his brother and Aharon had spoken him, and all the magicians said to the king, But how came the men unto you on account of the lions which were confined at the gate? And the king said, Because they lifted up their rod against the lions and loosed them, and came to me, and the lions also rejoiced at them, as a dog rejoices to meet his master. And Balaam, the son of Beor, the magician, answered the king, saying, These are none else than magicians like ourselves. Now therefore send for them, and let them come, and we will try them. And the king did so. And in the morning Pharaoh sent for Moshe and Aharon to come before the king, and they took the rod of Elohim, and came to the king, and spoke to him, saying, Thus said Yahuah Elohim of the Hebrews, Send my people that they may serve me. And the king said to them, But who will believe you that you are the messengers of Elohim, and that you come to me by his order? Now therefore give a wonder or a sign in this matter, and then the words which you speak shall be believed. And Aharon hastened and threw the rod out of his hand before Pharaoh and before his servants, and the rod turned into a serpent. And the sorcerers saw this, and they each cast each man his rod upon the ground, and they became serpents. And the serpent of Aharon lifted up his head against and opened its mouth to swallow the rods of the magicians. And Balaam the magician answered and said, This thing has been from the days of old, that a serpent should swallow its fellow, and that living things devour each other. Now therefore restore to it a rod as it were the first, and we will also restore our rods as they were at first. And if thy rod shall swallow our rods, then shall we know that the spirit of Elohim is in you, and if not, you are only an artificer like unto ourselves. So just a little more history about Balaam. So, if, going back to the question, why would Yahuah speak, or Yahusha, the word of Elohim, speak to Balaam? Here's my theory. I believe that Balaam saw everything that Yahuah did through Egypt, and Balaam fled, and Balaam was like, whoa. And I believe that Balaam turned to the Most High for a time. Hear me out. Revelation 2:14-15, But I have a few things against you, because you have there them that held the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. So have you also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which I think I hate. And we're going to learn about Balaam teaching Balak, that kind of stuff. Having 2 Peter 2:14, having eyes full of adultery that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way, and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam the son of Bosor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. Now hang on a second. How can someone follow the same way that Balaam did, which was which he says right here by implication is that Balaam was in the right way and went aside for riches' sake? Numbers 31:16, Behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against Yahuah in the matter of Peor, and there was a plague amongst the congregation of Yahuah. Think about the parable of the seed. Think about, let's say Balaam saw the wonders of Yahuah, maybe was wholehearted for a while, but listen, Matthew 13:22, He also that received seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he become unfruitful. Is it possible that Balaam saw all the things in Egypt? He saw all the miracles, right? And he's like, I need to stop this magician stuff, and I need to serve the Most High. Maybe he did for a time, and maybe he was forgiven, but maybe he fell away through gain, which we'll read about here shortly. So let's keep going now back to Numbers 22:9. So hopefully maybe I've answered the question that a lot of times comes up, is why Elohim came unto Balaam and said, What men are these with you? So maybe at this time Balaam is walking in the way. Just think about that for just a moment. Consider it. And Balaam said unto Elohim, Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Mitzrayim, which covers the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them. Perchance I shall be able to overcome them and drive them out. And Elohim said unto Balaam, You shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, Get you into the land, for Yahuah refuses to give me leave to go with you. He's following the word of Yah. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak, and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. And Balak sent yet again princes more and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam, and said to him, Thus says Balak, son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray you, hinder you from coming unto me. For I will promote you even to very great honor, and I will do whatever you say unto me. Come therefore, I pray you, curse me this people. Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If Balak were to give me his whole house full of silver and gold, I can't go beyond the word of Yahuah Elohiym to do less or more. He's obedient. Now therefore, I pray you, tarry ye also here this night, that I may know what Yahuah will say more unto me. And Elohim came unto Balaam at night, and said unto him, If the men come to call you, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I shall say unto you, that you shall do. And Balaam rose up in the morning, and saddled his ass, and went with the princes of Moab. So we don't get it in any translation. I've read the Targums, the Septuagint. We don't get anywhere that why exactly this next verse here, that Yahweh was mad, upset with him. And Elohim's anger was kindled because he went. And the only thing we can look at by process of elimination is Yahusha gave him a command, if the men come to call you, rise up and go with him. So we have to believe that the men did not call up to call him, and Balaam rose up and was just like, well, I'm just going to go because I want the riches, right? So now we're starting to see transgression number one in Balaam's apparently good righteous walk. Possible, because the other possibility is that Yah only appeared to him because he's completely just wicked, right? But we see here Balaam being obedient, right? And then we see him being disobedient, because it's like Yahusha was like, only go if this and this and this, and all but Balaam heard was riches, go. And Elohim's anger was kindled because he went, and the angel of Yahweh stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his 2 servants were with him. And I think in Jasher the Targum it says that his 2 sons, Jonas and Jambres, were with him. And the ass saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass, whack, to turn her into the way. But the angel of Yahweh stood in a path on the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of Yahweh, she thrust herself into the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again, whack. And the angel of Yahweh went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of Yahweh, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with his staff, whack. And Yahweh opened the mouth of the ass. And she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto you, that you have smitten me these 3 times? So we have a talking donkey. And I know Hollywood likes to make fun of it with like the whole Shrek series. And Balaam said unto the ass, Because you have mocked me, I wish there was a sword in my hand, for now I would kill you. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am I not your ass, upon which you have ridden ever since I was yours unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto you? And he said, No. Then Yahweh opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. Right? Obedient. And the angel of Yahweh said unto him, Wherefore have you smitten your ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand you, because your way is perverse before me. Right? Your way is perverse before me. He did evil in his sight. And the ass saw me and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now also I had slain you. So let's pause here. Okay, talking donkey, really? We're going to turn to Jubilees chapter 3, and we're going to read verse 18 and a few more. And after the completion of the 7 years, which he had completed there, 7 years exactly, this is talking about Adam, and in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, the serpent came and approached his woman. And the serpent said to the woman, Has Elohim commanded you, saying, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? I mean, we got a talking snake here, right? Or talking dragon or serpent, whatever it is. And so we have the temptation, of course, here. And she ate, and shame comes upon him. Elohim cursed the serpent, which was wroth with it forever. It's the same rebuke. Okay, and so now they're leaving the garden, and on that day was closed the mouth of all beasts, and of cattle, and of birds, and of whatsoever walks, and of whatsoever moves, so that they could no longer speak, for they all had spoken with one another with one lip and with one tongue. But as soon as they left the garden, zip. But for that moment, Yah allowed it, open up that donkey's mouth so the donkey could rebuke Balaam. And then you have Balaam, overly beating his animal. Proverbs 12:10 reminded me of this verse. A righteous man regards the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. And it looks like Balaam exhibited this latter half here, cruelness to his donkey. Okay. And Balaam said unto the angel of Yahweh, I have sinned. How would he know what sin is if he wasn't walking in the way before? I have sinned, for I knew not that you stood in the way against me. Now, therefore, if it displease you, I will get me back again. So he's willing to hearken to the word of Yah. And the angel of Yahuah said unto Balaam, Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto you, that shall you speak. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. And when Balak heard that Balaam was come, he went out to meet him unto a city of Moab, which is in the border of Arnon, which is in the utmost coast. And Balak said unto Balaam, Did I not earnestly send you to call you? Wherefore came you not unto me? Am I not able to indeed promote you to honor? And Balaam said unto Balak, Lo, I am come unto you. Have I now any power at all to say anything? The word that Elohim puts in my mouth, that I shall speak. Obedient. And Balaam went with Balak, and they came unto Kiryat Chutzot. And Balak offered oxen and sheep, and sent Balaam and to the princes that were with him. And it came to pass on the morrow that Balak took Balaam and brought him up into the high places of Baal, that thence he might see the utmost part of the people. Chapter 23. And Balaam said unto Balak, Build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken. And Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. And Balaam said unto Balak, Stand by your burnt offering, and I will go thence. Perchance Yahuah will come to meet me, and whatsoever he shows me I will tell you. And he went to a high place. And Elohim met Balaam, and he said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars. I have offered upon every altar a bullock and a ram. And Yahuah put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, Return unto Balak, and thus shall you speak. And he returned unto him, and lo, he stood by his burnt sacrifice, he and all the princes of Moab. And he took up his parable, and said, Balak, king of Moab, has brought me from Aram, out of the mountains of the east, saying, Come, curse me, Jacob, and come defy Yasharel. How shall I curse whom El has not cursed? Or how shall I defy whom Yahuah has not defied? For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone, and shall not be reckoned among the nations. Who can count the dust of Yaakov, and the number of the 4th part of Yasharel? Let me die the death of Yasharim the righteous, and let my last end be like his. And Balak said unto Balaam, What have you done unto me? I took you to curse my enemies, and behold, you have blessed them altogether. And he answered and said, Must I not take heed to speak that which Yahuah has put in my mouth? Obedient. Right? Because he could have been disobedient and been like, I just want the riches. At this point, he's obedient up to this point. And Balak said unto him, Come, I pray you, with me to another place, from whence you may see them. You shall see but the utmost part of them, and shall not see them all, and curse me them from thence. And remember, in a previous passage, I think we found that the whole width of the camp of Israel was like 12 miles long. 12 miles wide and 12 miles long. And he brought unto him to the field of Tsophim, to the top of Pisgah, and he built 7 altars, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. And he said unto Balak, Stand ye here by your burnt offering, while I meet Yahuah yonder. And Yahuah met Balaam, and put a word in his mouth, and said, Go again unto Balak, and say thus. And when he came to him, behold, he stood by his burnt offering, and the princes of Moab with him. And Balak said unto him, What has Yahuah spoken? And he took up his parable, and said, Rise up, Balak, and hear. Hearken unto me, you son of Zippor. El is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of Adam that he should repent. He has said, and shall he not do it? Or has he spoken, and shall not make it good? Behold, I have received commandment to bless, and he has blessed. I cannot reverse it. He has not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither has he seen perverseness in Yasharel. Now this is interesting, because we know that all throughout the wilderness experience, right, they were mumbling and grumbling and causing all kinds of iniquity, but it was covered. It was covered. It was forgiven. That's why he didn't see it. Yahuah Elohiym is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. El brought them out of Mitzrayim. He has, as it were, the strength of an unicorn. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Yasharel. According to this time, it shall be said of Jacob and of Yasharel, What has El wrought? I want to read something for you. No, that was the wrong one. Hebrews 10, thinking about the covering of sin. Hebrews 10:25 through 39. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of the some is, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching. We should get together. And I know I'm going to keep doing these on here until the last day or until our time on YouTube is over. But I know that some of you have no fellowship locally where you're at, so I do feel in part that maybe we're keeping that here with some sort of fellowship, at least for, when you watch it live, these gatherings. But really, if there's an opportunity for you fellowship locally, brothers and sisters, please do it. For if we sin willfully after we have received the knowledge of the truth, the Torah, there remains no more sacrifice for sin. So once he brings us into the knowledge of Torah and we just willfully sin, there's no more sacrifice for sins, is what he says. But a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries. He that despised Moshe's law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. Of how much sorer punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy of who had trodden underfoot the Son of Elohim, and hath counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and has done despite unto the Spirit of grace. So people that turn away from the Torah, even though they've been cleansed of the blood of Messiah, it's worse. For we know him that has said, vengeance belongs unto me, I will recompense, says Yahuwah. And again, Yahuwah shall judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Elohim. But call to remembrance the former days, in which after you were illuminated, you endured a great fight of afflictions, partly while you were made a gazing stock both by reproaches and afflictions, and partly whilst you became companions of them that were so used. This walk is hard sometimes after you come to the truth. For ye had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourselves that ye have in heaven a better and enduring substance. Cast not away therefore your confidence, which has great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of Elohim, ye might receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he that shall come, and will not tarry. Now, the just shall live by faithfulness, is the right word. But if any man draw back, my soul shall not have pleasure in him. But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul. Hallelujah, Yahuwah. Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion, and lift up himself as a young lion, and he shall not lie down until he eat of the prey, and drink the blood of the slain. And this is prophetic, very prophetic. Micah talks about it, Micah 5, talking about the people of Yah being raised up as a lion. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of, this is the end time stuff, and the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many peoples as a dew from Yahuwah, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not from man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many peoples, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, and as a young lion among the flock of sheep, who, if you go through, both treads down and tears in pieces, and none can deliver. Your hand shall be lifted up upon your adversaries, and all your enemies shall be cut off. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahuwah, that I'll cut off the horses out of the midst of thee. And I will destroy their chariots, and I will cut off the cities of thy land, and throw down all thy strongholds. And I will cut off the witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. The graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of you, and you shall no more worship the work of your hands. Interesting prophecy here, especially considering Balaam was part of it. We are here. And Balak said unto Balaam, neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all. He's like, just go, stop. But Balaam answered and said to Balak, told not I you, saying, all that Yahuwah speaks that I must do? And Balak said unto Balaam, come, I pray you, I will bring you to another place. Perchance it will please Elohim that you may curse me them from thence. And Balak brought Balaam unto the top of Peor that looks towards Yeshimon. And Balaam said unto Balak, build me here 7 altars, and prepare me here 7 bullocks and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had said, and offered a bullock and a ram on every altar. Now, they're going to read a little bit from the Targums and just get a little different picture of what's going on here. Or just a little more, really. There we go. And we're going to read paragraph 2. And the word from before Yahuwah met with Balaam. So it's clear to see that it was Messiah Yahusha who met with him, who said before him, the 7 altars I have set in order, and have offered a bullock and a ram upon every altar. And Yahuwah put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, return to Balak, and thus speak. And he returned to him, and behold, he was standing by his burnt offering, and he and all the nobles of Moab, and he took up his parable of prophecy, and said, from Aram on the Euphrates has Balak, king of the Moabi, brought me. From the mountains of the east come, curse for me the house of Jacob. Come, Make for me Israel small. How shall I curse while the word of Yahuwah blesses them? And whom shall I diminish when the word of Yahuwah increases them? For said Balaam the wicked, I look on this people who are led on for the sake of their righteous fathers, who are like the mountains, and of their mothers who are like the hills. Behold, this people alone to possess the world, because they are not led by the Torahs of the nations. And when Balaam the sinner beheld the house of Israel, a circumcised people, hidden in the dust of the desert, he said, who can number the merits of these strong ones, or count the good works of one of the four camps of Israel? Balaam the wicked said, if the house of Israel kill me with a sword, then it is made known to me I shall have no portion in the world to come. Nevertheless, if I may but die the death of the true, oh, that my last end may be as the least of them. And we're going to skip this one. Was that right? Yeah, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to read 5, 6, and 7. Arise, Balak, and hear, listen to my words, Bar Zippor. The word of the living Elohim is not as the words of men for Yahuwah. The ruler of all the worlds is the unchangeable man speaketh and denieth. Neither are his works like the works of the children of flesh, who consult and then repent them of what they have decreed. But when Yahuwah of all the worlds has said, I will multiply this people as the stars of the heavens, and I will give them to possess the land of the Canaanites, is he not able to perform what he has spoken? And what he has said, can he not confirm it? Behold, from the mouth of the holy word I have received the benediction, and their appointed benediction I cannot restrain. Balaam the wicked said, I see not among them the house of Jacob, such as worship idols. They who serve false idols are not established among the tribes of the sons of Israel. The word of Yahuwah their Elohim is their help, and the trumpets of the King Mashiach resound among them. Unto Elohai, who redeemed and led them out of Mitzrayim, free belong power and exaltation, glorification and greatness. They of the house of Jacob who use divination are not established, nor the enchanters who enchant among the greatness multitudes of Israel. At this time it is said to the house of Jacob and Israel, how glorious are the miracles and wonder works which Elohim has wrought. This people reposeth alone, and dwelleth strong as a lion, and reareth himself as an old lion. They sleep not with great slaughter. They have slain their adversaries, and the spoils of their slain. Okay, yeah, we'll stop there. Okay. Give me just a second here. Okay, chapter 24. Actually, yeah. And when Balaam saw that it had pleased Yahuwah to bless Yashrael, he went not as other times to seek for enchantments, but he set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Yashrael abiding in his tents according to their tribes. And the Ruach Elohim came upon him, and he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor has said, and the man whose eyes are open has said, he has said, which heard the words of El, which saw the vision of El Shaddai, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. How goodly are your tents, O Jacob, and your tabernacles, O Yashrael. As the valleys are they spread forth, as the gardens by the riverside, as the trees of lin aloes which Yahuwah has planted, and as cedar trees beside the waters. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters. And his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. This was fulfilled with partially through, at least initially through Saul, King Saul, with Agag in 1 Samuel. El brought him forth out of Mitzrayim. He has, as it were, the strength of a unicorn, which many people believe this is a rhinoceros. He shall eat up the nations as his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce them through with arrows. He couched, he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion. Who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesses you, and cursed is he that curses you. And Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he smote his hands together. And Balak said unto Balaam, I called you to curse my enemies, and behold, you have altogether blessed them these 3 times. Therefore now flee to your place. I thought to promote you into great honor, but lo, Yahuwah has kept you back from honor. And Balaam said unto Balak, spoke I also not unto you your messengers, which you sent to me, saying, if Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandment of Yahuwah, to do either good or bad in my own mind, but to do what Yahuwah says, that will I speak. So he's still being obedient here. Up until the very end. He's tested, and then he breaks. Now behold, I go into my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise what this people shall do to your people in the latter days. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor has said, the man whose eyes are opened has said, he has said, which heard the words of El, and knew the knowledge of El Elyon, which saw the vision of El Shaddai falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Yisrael, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And Edom shall be a possession, Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Yisrael shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remains of the city. And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that shall perish forever. And he looked upon the Canaanim and took up his parable and said, Strong is your dwelling place, and you put your nest in a rock. Nevertheless, the Canaanite shall be wasted, and Ashur shall carry you away captive. And he took up his parable and said, Alas, who shall live when El does this? And ships shall come from the coasts of Kittim, and shall afflict Ashur, and shall afflict Eber, and he also shall perish forever. And Balaam rose up and went and returned to his place, and Balak also went his way. And not for this time, but actually all these prophecies came to pass, Kittim being Rome, and doing all these things in their time, so it's kind of interesting. For the last chapter, we're actually just going to read from the Targum, because it's pretty interesting. And, yeah. So we're reading chapter 25 and the Targums. We're going to finish out this, excuse me, we're going to finish out this Torah portion. And Israel dwelt in the place which is called Shittim, on account of Shetuah, foolishness and depravity which were among them. And the people began to profane their holiness, and to strip their bodies to the image of Peor, and commit fornication with the daughters of the Moabites, who brought out the image of Peor concealed under their bundles. And they invited the people to the sacrifices of their idols, and the people ate in their feasts, and bowed themselves to their idols. And the people of the house of Israel joined themselves to Baal Peor, like the nail in the wood, which is not separated but by breaking up the wood. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Israel. Pause here. I thought there was something I missed. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, here's what I wanted to read the last one of 24. And Balaam rose up and went to his place, and Balak also went up to his way, and appointed the daughters of the Midianites for... actually, where is it where he tells them how to do it? Here we go. This is chapter 24 of the Targums. And now, behold, I return to go to my people. Come, I will give you counsel. Go, furnish tavern houses, and employ seductive women to sell food and drinks cheaply. Is that not what's going on right now? And to bring this people together to eat and to drink and to commit whoredom with them, that they may deny their Elohim. Then in a brief time they will be delivered into your hand, and many of them fall. Nevertheless, after this they will still have dominion over your people at the end of the days. So that's where Balaam fell, because he's like, man, I want these riches anyways. I can't curse them, but let me figure out a way. I'm still going to be obedient to Elohim by not cursing them, but I'm going to get them to curse themselves. And that's exactly what the rulers of this world do. The powers and principalities, they want to get us to transgress the word of Elohim, and they can't outrightly curse us, but they can get us to curse ourselves and get us in transgression of Elohim and his shield and protection to be away from us. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, take all the chiefs of the people to appoint them for judges, and let them give judgment to put to death the people who have gone astray after Peor, and hang them before the word of Yahuwah upon the wood over against the morning sun. And at the departure of the sun, take them down and bury them, and turn away the strong anger of Yahuwah from Israel. And Moshe said to the judges of Israel, slay every one a man of his tribe of those who have joined themselves to the idol of Peor. Skipping them. And behold, a man of the sons of Israel came holding a Midianitess, and brought her to his brethren in the sight of Moshe and all the congregation of the children of Israel. And he answered and said to Moshe, what is it that is wrong to have company with her? If you say us it is forbidden, did you not yourself take a Midianitess, the daughter of Jethro? When Moshe heard, he trembled and swooned. But they wept and cried, "Listen!" And they stood at the door of the tabernacle of ordinance, and Phinehas bar Eleazar bar Aharon the priest saw, and remembering the ordination, answered and said, "He who ought to kill, let him kill. Where are the lions of the tribe of Yehudah?" When they saw, they were quiet. And he arose from his Sanhedrin and took a lance in his hand. 12 miracles were wrought for Phinehas the time that he went in after the man of Israel with the Midianites. The first sign was he would have parted them, but he could not. Their mouth was closed, that they could not cry out. For had they cried out, they would have been rescued. He drave the lance through them both. The lance remained fixed in the wound. When he bare them aloft, the lintel was uplifted for him until he had gone forth. He carried them through the whole camp 6 miles without fatigue. He held them up by his right arm in the side of the kindred, who had no power to hurt him. The lance was made strong, so as not to be broken with the load. The iron transpierced them, but was not withdrawn. An angel came and made bare their corpses in the sight of the people. They lingered alive till they had been carried through the entire camp, lest the priest in the tabernacle should be defiled by the dead. Their blood thickened so as not to flow upon him, but when he had borne them through the camp, it brake forth, and they died. Answering, he said before Yahuah of the world, "Can it be that on account of these 24,000 of Israel shall die?" Immediately the compassions of the heavens were moved, and the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. And that's the end of this week's Torah portion, my brothers and my sisters. I pray you were able to glean something from it. Don't let the enemy convince you into transgressing the word of Yahuah. Don't curse yourselves. And man, interesting how this Torah portion tied into tonight's earlier study, which was the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew, part 14, which was resisting the devil. And so there's a lot of similarities. And if you're watching this Torah portion and did not watch that, I would highly recommend it, because I could talk another 2 hours about this, but I already have earlier this evening. So look that up. Hebrew Gospel, resisting the devil. Check that out. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, O Yahuah, we come before you. We bless you. We praise you. We thank you for all you do. Thank you for opening us to his truth in these last days. Thank you for Messiah Yahusha. And thank you for the giving us of the Ruach HaKodesh that may guide us into all truth. We bless you and we thank you for the Shabbat. Thank you for giving us the example of working 6 days and resting the 7th. So simple. And we thank you so much for its simplicity. And we love you and thank you for all you do. And we lift up holy hands to the heavens and praise you through your Son, Messiah Yahusha. Amen. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. Going to finish up with a few songs, and I pray they bless you. In Yahusha's name, have a great Shabbat. Yevarechecha Yahuah Ishmerecha Ya'er Yahuah panav lecha v'chuneka Yisa Yahuah panav lecha v'yaseh Shalom, Yahuah panav lecha v'yaseh lecha shalom, v'yaseh lecha shalom, v'yaseh lecha shalom.
Yahuah bless you and keep you. Yahuah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Yahuah make his face shine upon you and gracious unto you, Yahuah. Lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Blessed are you, Yahuah Szavát. You gave us of your Son so we could have hope. Taught us how to walk in spirit and in truth. He is the vine, through him we bear fruit. Your word's a lamp unto our feet. Our heart's desire with every single beat. Your Torah inside us, commandments we know. Till that great shofar we wait until it's blown.
When you said, seeking my face, my heart said unto you, your face will I see, and sound that shofar and God the shout will sing you praises to our King, and clap your hands, all his people, and sing with joy to our Elohim.
We're at the end, and surely we know the world is filled with lies, vanities, and woes. The people that seek him turning to his way, leaving Babylon, Yahusha, don't delay. Hearken, O his people, his doctrine drops his rain, keeping the commandments lest you walk in vain. His Torah is no burden, no matter what you're told, sweeter than honey and worth more than gold.
When you said, seeking my face, my heart said unto you, your face will I see, and sound that shofar and God the shout will sing you praises to our King, and clap your hands, all his people, and sing with joy to our Elohim.
Standing on Mount Zion, singing that new song, Yahusha and his chosen, to him we belong. Worthy is the Lamb, for he was slain, made us kings and priests, by him we shall reign. Open ye the gates for those that keep the truth. You give us lasting peace, our minds are stayed on you, striving to shine bright like your menorah, walking in the way, the truth, your Torah.
I'll never go back.
Never go back.
I'll never leave you.
Never leave you.
I'll never go back.
Never go back
to my old way.
to my old ways.
I'll seek your face.
Seek your face
for all of my days.
for all of my days.
You've given me
You've given me
by
peace,
teaching your way.
teaching your ways. Your ways.
When you said, seeking my face, my heart said unto you, your face will I see, and sound that shofar and God the shout will sing you praises to our King, and clap your hands, all his people.